Hello and welcome to Project Management Professional Training Program. I am your host Etisham Qureshi. In today's lecture, we are going to study crashing the project schedule. Crashing is a schedule compression technique where we deploy more resources to get the job done in a lesser time. Crashing can be done by introducing overtime for the existing resources, or we can actually bring in more equipment to get the job done in a faster amount of time. We can think of paying incentive to the staffs or early completion bonus to motivate them to complete the project in lesser the time that is required earlier than the planned date. Also, we can outsource part of our scope to the more professional outsourcing partners who can do the job done in lesser time than the internal resources. When we are crashing the project, we need to consider we are crashing only the activities on the critical path. Activities that are labor intensive or effort driven are often crashed. Low cost to crash activities are crashed first, and activities that has longer duration are also first to be crashed. Where there is a bottleneck between various critical paths, yes, the merger of various critical paths, the activities that lie common to various critical paths need to be crashed often. And also the upstream activities in the project are crashed first, then the downstream activities. Let us see an example of an effort-driven activity. You are working in a packaging factory. You have an order for 2,000 packages to be packed. Your resource can assemble 10 boxes per hour. So you estimated that it will take 200 hours of work. So if one resource is working 8 hours per day, this activity will take 25 work days. So you have to assign one more resource to complete the project in 12.5 work days. If you assign a third resource, the project shall take 6.25 work days. Remember, crashing is prone to law of diminishing returns, where simply keeping on adding more and more resources does not guarantee the schedule compression after a certain period of time. So in fact, we will receive some results in the beginning. So the output or the productivity will increase by adding similar kind of resources, but there will reach a point where the returns will become diminished. So adding more of same resources will not give us the as much result as it gave us in the beginning. And in fact, the results will turn to diminish or become negative also. Crashing also involves analyzing time and cost trade-off. We assume that the scope is constant in our iron triangle of scope, cost, and time constraints. And only then we can determine the linear relationship between cost and time when the scope is constant. Our objective is to find out the optimum project duration at which the overall project cost is minimum. What is overall project cost? Overall project cost includes indirect cost and direct cost. Direct cost is the cost of labor, equipment, material, or the subcontractor's cost. Indirect cost is the overhead cost, such as the cost of depreciation of machinery. It is usually the time-dependent cost, such as the office rental charges or the administrative charges or the janitor services, or the interest that we have to pay on the loan that we have taken to complete the project activities. While crashing, you may assume that the project cost will increase. However, direct cost of the project increases as a result of crashing, whereas the indirect cost of the project decreases as the result of crashing. So overall project cost should actually decrease as a result of the crashing. So our objective is to find out the optimum project duration at which the overall project cost is minimum. Consider to run a project at a normal pace and at a fast pace. When we are running it at a normal pace, we are considering each activity to be run in a normal duration, and subsequently there will be a minimum cost associated with it, which is a normal cost. Now, if we need to run the project at a fast pace, which means we have to crash the schedule, so we will have a crash duration in mind. And also we need to find out the crash cost where we have, which is the maximum cost of the project. Cost slope. What does cost slope mean? Cost slope means that how much money I need to crash an activity, let's say A, by a single day or week or unit time. Cost slope can be calculated by the formula crash cost minus normal cost divided by normal duration minus crash duration. Consider the project which has 7 activities A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. We have determined the normal pace and the fast pace, which means normal duration and the fast duration of each of these activities. Also, we have determined the normal cost of these activities as well as the crash cost of these activities. Next step is to calculate the cost slope. So here we have already calculated the cost slope for each of these activities. Cost slope of activity A is $2,000, which means that it takes $2,000 to reduce the duration of activity A by a single day. And so on, activity B can be reduced as well by paying $2,000 by it can be reduced by a single day, whereas activity F can be reduced by a single day by paying $1,500. Now we will determine our normal project duration through critical path method. So here we have plotted our network diagram and we have mentioned our normal duration of each activities. Along with that, in parentheses, we have mentioned the crash duration for each of these activities. And also with the name of the activity, we have mentioned in parentheses also the cost slope of these activities. We have determined our critical path, which is A, C, E, and G, and the total duration of the project is 16 days. Suppose that indirect cost of the project is $6,000 per day. Now, what shall be the overall project cost? Overall project cost will be sum of the direct cost as well as the indirect cost. Let us sum the direct cost of all the activities to come up with the direct cost of the project. So A takes $5,000, B takes $6,000, and we will sum A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. It will give us $60,000. What is the indirect cost per day? $6,000. What is the project duration? 16 days. All right. So here you go. We calculated the sum of our direct and indirect costs, which is $156,000. So total project cost to run the project in 16 days is $156,000. Now let us start to crash our project. We shall begin on the activities on the critical path. All the activities on the critical path can be crashed except activity G, where the crash duration is equal to normal duration. Among the activity A, C, and E, A will be crashed first because it has the minimum cost slope. So it takes $2,000 to crash activity A by a single day. Let us assume that we have crashed activity A, so the project duration becomes 15 days now. So we have the critical path duration also of 15 days. Let us calculate the overall project cost when the project duration is reduced to 15 days. It can be calculated as cost to complete the project in 16 days plus cost of crashing activity A by 1 day and minus savings in terms of indirect cost. So $156,000 was the cost to complete a project in 16 days plus $2,000 is the cost to crash activity A by single day minus 6,000. 6,000 is the indirect cost of 1 day, which will be subtracted. So we reach to the total project cost to complete in 15 days as $152,000. Thus, we have crashed the project by 1 day and we have actually reduced the overall project cost by $4,000. Now, the next activity that we have to crash is activity E. Activity E can be crashed by 3 days. The normal duration is 5 days. The crash duration is 2 days. We are going to do it in 3 steps. So 1 unit at a time. So let us see activity E is crashed by a single day, which makes the total project duration equals to 14 days. So now let us calculate the overall project cost to complete the project in 14 days is equal to cost to complete a project in 15 days plus the cost of crashing the activity E by a single day minus saving in terms of the indirect cost. So the total project cost to complete in 14 days turned out to be $149,000. Thus, the project duration reduced by another 1 day, and also subsequently the cost of project also reduced by $3,000 from $152,000 to $149,000. All right. Now we shall crash activity E by another 1 day. So activity E is crashed by another 1 day, and we have reached to the project duration of 13 days. Let us calculate the overall project cost of the project when it is completed in 13 days. It will be equal to cost of the project to complete in 14 days plus cost of crashing activity E by another day minus the saving in indirect cost, which is $6,000. The total project cost to complete in 13 days turns out to be $146,000. The project duration also reduced by another day. The project can be done in 13 days, and and we have also saved in overall $3,000 in overall project cost. So far, crashing is going fine. Now we have also introduced another critical path in our project, which is A, B, F, and G. So do we have any other activities to be crashed? Yes. So we have two critical paths, which mean that we have to crash an activity of both of the critical paths. So let's see what is the combination over here. We have E and F, or E or B, or C or F, or C or B. So let us see the cost slopes. So here we have to consider the cost slope of some of the cost slopes of both of these activities. If we are going to crash activity E, F, and F together, or E and B, or C and F, or C and B. So we will choose the activities sequence where the sum of cost slope is minimum. That is only E and F. All right, so we crash activity E and F by 1 day, and thus the total project duration turns out to be 12 days. So now let us calculate the overall project cost to complete in 12 days. It turns out to be $144,500, and thus we have reduced the project duration by another day, and it has also reduced the overall project cost by $1,500. All right. Now, shall we crash another time? Yes, we have to crash activity B and C, and the sum of the cost slopes is $6,000. All right, we will crash activity B and C by 1 day each, and the total project duration turns out to be 11. So let us calculate the project cost to complete in 11 days. It turns out to be $144,500. The project duration thus reduced by another day, but there is no increase or decrease in the overall project cost. Now, shall we crash another time? Yes. Now we have reduced the project duration to 11 days, which means that we have also now introduced another critical path. So in this way, we have to crash the activity of each of these critical paths. We have 3 critical paths now, so we have to crash activity B, D, and C. Activity E and F are already crashed to their fullest. So the crash cost will be the sum of cost slopes of these 3 activities, B, D, and C, which turns out to be $10,000. All right. So let us calculate the overall project cost to complete in 10 days, $148,500. So the project duration reduces by a single day, but the cost has increased by $4,000 over the previous cost. Thus, we have reached to the stage where decrease in the project cost is accompanied by significant increase in the direct cost, forcing us to stop here, further crashing. All right, so let's plot the results of all of our iterations over here, and we have reached the optimum project duration, that is 11 days or 12 days, at which our project cost was minimum, which is $144,500. All right, great job. I shall see you in the next lecture. Keep watching my videos, and if you like my video, subscribe to my channel and share with your colleagues.